What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. Okay, we just had some breaking news from Jordan Schultz and Adam Schefter. Doubled down. I got Brandon Ayuk liking the Instagram posts. Terry McLaurin has officially requested a trade from the Washington Commanders. And we have a bunch of different stuff going on around the league, right? Trey Hendrickson's doing a hold in. Micah Parsons wants to get paid. We have contract situations now on a yearly basis. And Adam Peters, who's with the 49ers forever, who's the GM of Washington, has seen him from Deebo. Deebo once requested a trade. Then he showed up for OTAs for a mandatory part. Training camp, I can't even remember, but they worked out a contract. And obviously it didn't go that well. And now he's on the Washington Commanders. We've seen holdouts with Nick Bosa. Like Adam Peters has had a long experience when he was with the 49ers of watching this situation happen. But I also think this brings into light why all these coaches, and especially veteran players, talk over and over and over again about every year's a new year. Even with returning players, like guys get worse, guys get better, guys get injured. We get new players. We get coaches come and go. You know, assistant coaches, schemes can change. You never know from year to year, right, how things are going to play out. And Terry McLaurin has been a part of this franchise when they were a joke. And obviously is a leader of this team. And then as they finally break out, he becomes the number one target, scored 13 touchdowns, and is just an elite player for them. Now, I also understand the complications. Like, I'm always understandable when management pushes back on older players, guys with their third contract in the NFL, with enormous money. It makes teams uncomfortable. Seattle, I'm out on DK Metcalf. Right? I know DK requested a trade. I promise you this. If Seattle would have put a lot of money in front of him, he would have signed it. Right? So we have seen guys this offseason, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Max Crosby, get enormous third contracts. I'd say all three of those guys are somewhat outliers and played the second most important position behind quarterback. I do think Adam Peters, when he traded for Deebo Samuel, which I like the move, I would have done it too, had to impact Terry a little bit because this GM, this head coach, they didn't draft you, right? The contract you're on, they had nothing to do with. Even though you produced for them, and I'm sure they like him, it just shows you like, hey, he'll bring in his guy immediately when given the opportunity. And myself, like Deebo, are both in contract years. We're fighting for more money. We want to get paid more. And Terry, coming off a good year, Deebo is not, but goes, hey, if you like me, now's the time. Why are we going to play this thing out? And if you're Washington, like, hey, we'd like to see a couple years of this before we give you $35 million a year. And while Adam wasn't with the Niners last year, he just saw the 49ers give Ayuk, different situation. It was Ayuk's first contract extension, a contract that they immediately regretted. And anytime that you're on this rookie contract, everyone's like, you got to load up, you got to load up. And that is true. But you got to feel comfortable about what you're loading up for. Now, depending on, would I want to give him $100 million guaranteed? Yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing something like that. And when you have a guy asking for $35+ million, he's not going to sign a 2-year contract. So it's pretty easy to do the math. The guaranteed number is probably going to be $85 to $90 million minimum is what he's looking for. And clearly Washington right now is uncomfortable doing that. Because if they weren't, I think a contract would already be signed. But this is not the NBA. When you demand a trade, you don't always go, okay, where do you want to go? As Schefter reported, the Commanders have no desire and no intention of trading the player. We plan on you being here. So these situations can get weird. I saw Mike Silver. He interviewed Charvarius Ward, who is now on the Colts, who 2 years ago was an all-pro for the 49ers. He's had a great career. Started on the Chiefs, signed with the Niners, played in a bunch of big games, been a high-end player. Last year, he had a tragedy happen in his life in the middle of the season with a young daughter who passed away. Just awful situation. But in this article, he said before that situation took place in my mind, I couldn't even focus on football, and I was out of it. I didn't even want to play. In the offseason, coming off an all-pro season, like all the other guys on the team, I wanted a new contract. I was going into my final year. I wanted a contract extension. And the front office looked at me and said, we're going to pay all these other guys. And then he said, guys started holding out. I'm at practice, and they still get paid. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? I was just an all pro. I play a premium position, and you're not going to pay me. And this was his point. Like, I was pissed off, and I wasn't in a good frame of mind. So anytime, I don't care who you are, for most normal people that aren't talking anywhere near the numbers these guys are talking in your job situation, when you feel disrespected, especially if you work for a company or work for someone or partners with someone and you've been doing something for a long period of time, Terry's been there for a while. You go, I haven't been just a good soldier. I've been a productive member. I've been, one of the bright spots for this dog shit place. And now that things are going well, I'm thriving. And you're like, yeah, we'll figure you out later. Like, it can get weird. And I also understand where Adam Peters is coming from. Like, hey, you're going to be 30 years old. Are we going to give you all this money? Like, you're a good player, and obviously you're productive, and you had 13 touchdowns last year, but am I going to pay you like you're Jerry Rice or Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase? Because we know you're not that. So you get in these weird situations. And this is why you got to be careful. And I liked what Adam did this offseason. Instead of using all the cap space they had and sign typically random average guys in free agency that you have to pay premiums for, he's like, you know what? I'm going to trade for veteran players. Not high picks, but mid-round picks for guys who are under contract that make good money. Laramie Tunsil is available. Trade a third-round pick for him. Deebo Samuel, who I know is in a contract year, I'll trade like a fifth or sixth round pick for him. And ideally, we get some good football out of those guys, right? And then we can evaluate at the end of the year, extend them, move on from them. But like, I know what I'm getting with a veteran guy. But sometimes when you do that and you bring in their money and then their demands, it kind of ruffle feathers inside the locker room. Because Terry McLaurin looks at Deebo Samuel and goes, this year we're scheduled to essentially make the same amount. In what world can I make the same amount as this guy? I know he had success for that team a couple years ago, but not here. Pro golfers drive for show and putt for some dough. And the easiest way to make you some dough, betting on this week's tournament at DraftKings Sportsbook. From the opening round, Championship Sunday, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with live betting, player props, and so much more. If you've never bet on golfers before, it's easy. You can take them to win, you can take them to top 10, you can take them to top 20. Some guys this week I like. We're making the push toward the FedEx playoffs. Ricky Fowler has been playing good golf. Hammer him to top 20. Max Homa, another guy who is trending, top 20. Matt Fitzpatrick, also playing really well. If you want to get a little more aggressive, top 10. Jake Knapp as well. Just had a good week at the 3M. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers to get 150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. I saw this clip today on social media of Jerry Jones. It must have been from Dion's like NFL Network, A Football Life probably. And Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones were telling the story of, the cap had just started in the mid-90s, and Stephen Jones was like their cap guy. And Jerry didn't even ask him, signs Deion Sanders. And at the time, gives him like $13 million signing bonus to sign with the Cowboys after he had just won the Super Bowl with the Niners. And basically the way they did it, gave him $13 million up front, and then they paid him like the veteran minimum for the next couple years. But they gave him a ton of cash relative to the NFL at the time. And Stephen Jones was in this clip going, I looked at Jerry, I said, do you understand how mad it's going to make all these accomplished guys in our locker room? And Jerry said, don't worry, I will handle it. Like, it's on me to let Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and Michael Irvin know why we did this. And even if they were mad, Deion Sanders was in the peak of his powers. Like, when you trade or sign Deion Sanders, everyone in the mid-90s goes, this is one of the best players in football. This guy has a chance to go down as one of the greatest players ever. So even if you do bring in someone to your locker room that you go, this guy's now the highest paid guy in our locker room. We're a locker room full of guys that have had success, but hey, this is one of the better players in the league, right? If Miles Garrett, instead of signing with the Browns, had been like, listen, you guys are going to trade me, and Jimmy Haslam would be like, okay, we'll trade you. Trades him to the Lions, right? And they give him a huge contract that he just got. Obviously, he would immediately become their highest paid player. But I think people in the locker room would go, yeah, it's one of the best players in the league. You trade for Miles Garrett, trade for Max Crosby. It's easy for people in the locker room to understand. When you trade for Laramie Tunzel, even if he's a really good player, you go, isn't this guy just the left tackle for one of the worst offensive lines in the league? And he's going to want a ton of money. I know you just traded for him to eventually sign him. You trade for Deebo, who, like, isn't the thing with this guy been he's like fat and out of shape? And now we both make the same amount of money this year on this team. Like, it's easy to get locker room dynamics that we're dealing with human beings here. That all their information, like sometimes information in what we do, right? Unless you know the right people, you don't know what your colleague makes. You don't know what other people make, for your company. So if you found out and someone that you thought you were 5 times more productive than was making 2 times more money than you, guess what would happen? You would be pissed off. What would happen if they brought someone into the company that you think you are 100% better than, who has no loyalty to your company because he's never been a part of it, and you find out he's making the same money as you? You might be mad as well. Like, these are human reactions and human, emotions that naturally come out. It's why it's on your boss. It's why it's on people, above you in the company to handle those situations as best they can. No different than Washington. It's on Adam, it's on Dan Quinn to try to handle these situations. But sometimes, these guys are all rich, but money is about respect. And when you feel disrespected, things can get weird. And the moment they get weird, things can kind of unravel. It's why year to year there is no. It's like what the Patriots did for 20 years is incredible. They just kept on winning. What the Chiefs have done these last 5 or 6 years is awesome. If the Eagles go back to back, that is such an incredible accomplishment. Hell, if you just tell me like, hey, they're back in the NFC Championship game, like that's really, really impressive. It's hard to do it year to year. It's really, really hard to sustain winning because, as Charvarius Ward said in this article to Mike Silver, when you're good and you start winning, everyone wants more money, right? It's like Pat Riley talked about it. It's disease of me, disease of more. And then I remember John Lynch or Warren Sapp, or there was a documentary done on those Buccaneers teams, and it's like that year after they won the Super Bowl, a couple contract holdouts, a couple dudes like names on restaurants. It's like, okay, we're getting a little, can we keep the focus, the main thing, the main thing? And it's hard because it's a business. Well, yeah, it is a business where you're dealing with human beings. They're young, making a ton of money, and easily have huge egos and easily disrespected. It's a tough business, to handle this. I've always given a lot of respect. It's like, well, anyone, Joe Torre won with some of those Yankee teams. Like, it's hard to coach stars. You try to coach Kobe, Shaq, and Michael Jordan. Godspeed. Bet most of you couldn't. Ask everyone that's tried to coach LeBron. He won't fucking listen to anybody. So it's like it's harder to coach big egos, big stars than it is nobodies. And typically, the more you win in pro sports, especially football, the bigger your stardom becomes, the bigger your name becomes, and the more money you want. So I think it's safe to say that Washington has a legitimate problem on their hands.